Okay.
Okay, we're here. We are here. And when I find the right button to click, the world can be a happy place. Yeah, that's it. It's the
Click
button.
the right button.
Good evening, everyone. We are here for show number 2. If you were with us with Ben Stowe, you now know more about batteries than you ever wanted to know. And you're probably going to go and illuminate something or light something up with a battery. And that's pretty awesome.
Or build a flux capacitor, which is what makes time travel possible.
We need to have a show about Ben going through and going and giving us basically what would be included in a flux capacitor.
Every time that I hear Ben talk, I think about that scene in Better Off Dead when they're in science class, and he's like speaking like almost a foreign language about quantum physics or something. Everybody's laughing at his like really geeky jokes. I'm like, that would be Ben as a science teacher. That would totally be him.
Let's see. In the chat room, there's a couple of questions. Eric
Hello.
asked about DJ Cruz. I know that there is, I believe, one, if not two, DJ Cruise. I believe We DJ has a cruise that they do. I believe Mobile Beat and the DJ Cruise, Debbie from DJ Cruise, Debbie McKenzie, or McKenzie. Debbie and Mobile Beat and the Photo Booth folks are all coming together for that. And gosh, there might be a third cruise. I'm not a big into the cruise thing. It's not. It's the time of the year where if we were going to be doing anything educational and such, it's going to be coming out of Minneapolis. I'm not going to be traveling November to go on a cruise when you reach 15 people on a cruise, and we have more than 15 people watching right now. So I'm just saying. It's to go and play and vacation, and yeah, that's great, but that's kind of not what my goal is. If I'm going to go on vacation, I'm not going to do DJ things. Sorry. It wouldn't be that.
And some people like that kind of stuff.
Oh, exactly. Yep. And it's great stuff. So this time we're actually streaming to both YouTube and Facebook. So if you're watching on one or the other, thank you for being with us tonight. I'm going to be able to bounce back and forth between the two chats and such. So we'll keep up to date on that. There. I think we got the formalities. So next week, Brian, we were just talking about it.
Yeah. Everybody's coming to town. No one's coming to my house though. No one said, "Hey, we want to come over." Those, yeah, we'll meet you out for dinner or something. Like my house stinks or something. Nobody's like even taking the bait of, "Hey, why don't you stop by?" So, but yeah, they'll be in town for the Midwest DJs thing, and that kicks off Monday.
Sunday. I think they start some things Sunday. Lori and I are going to get into town Sunday night.
Right. Yeah. Sunday night, and then but the official show I think is Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yep, I believe that's
the expo is like noon or something on Monday. So anyway, people will be here, and we'll probably may get some video from it. I haven't ever shot a lot of video at Midwest, but maybe I will this time.
Of course we will, because we're going to be there, and we're going to be.
Well, you will be. I'm talking about me. I don't know how much video I'm going to shoot.
Well, you'll be in most of the video.
Oh crap! All right. Well,
yeah. So actually, you'll have to make sure you're wearing pants this time.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Remember that last time? That was just. But that was Atlantic City. Hey, everything happens in Atlantic City. When is this? Next, we're in Milwaukee. Next Monday, Lori and I come in on Monday. It's at I don't even remember. It's Midwest DJs.
Crown Plaza Hotel by the airport. And well, technically, I think that's Oak Creek, but yeah, Milwaukee.
Trying to find if I can find the. There we go. Midwest DJs Live. DJs plural live is the event.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I can probably put that into the chat room here. But that's where we will be next week. Staying at Brian's house? Well, we could.
Yeah, I got a spare room.
If you guys don't mind all sharing, I've got.
Yeah. Pinch a tent in the backyard. Sleep on the disco porch, whatever your pleasure, I guess.
Yeah, Sam was there last year and said it was a great show. So for those of you who are just hearing it for the first time, I believe there's still like 6 passes available yet. I got us signed up. It's one of those things that we're planning to go, and it's like, I really need to get the passes. kind of a little negligent in that area. So yeah, we'll be coming to you next week live. Now we're not sure when exactly, if it'll be at our regular times on Tuesday night, because we've got Ben Stowe and we've got Ben and Brian and myself will all be in Milwaukee next week. Yeah. So we may be doing an earlier in the evening. We might be doing a later in the evening. you're just going to have to kind of follow along. We're going to try to post it up on, as soon as we have an idea, we're going to post it up on Facebook pages and give you guys a little heads up. But you're going to have to play a little bit by ear next week to see what's going on with that. So,
And I'm available for city tours.
and we're
This is my town. I know it pretty well. If you guys want to see stuff, I'll take you around.
Yeah, and that's what we're hoping to be able to do a little bit of that. One of the
Clean out the big Suburban and
Off
treat it like a hot rod school bus and go check out some stuff. This is a cool town. I think people don't get it. They think it's like Dayton, Ohio or something. It's not. This is a cool city. This is little Chicago, and there's some stuff happening here. And there's cool stuff to see. So
very nice. We're looking forward to it. Looking forward to that. Tonight's topic, we have a couple of different things we're going to talk about tonight. And one area, we're going to be talking about lighting. I've had some questions come in about getting into a basic light show, especially when Brian has talked about the little mini systems. So we're going to do that, but that'll be our second topic that we're going to dig into. The first one, Brian, and this one we didn't talk about, is I've had people asking, we've talked about practice and being able to really hone their craft. It amazes me, and I think it's probably more of the 30 and over crowd, because I've talked to some 20 somethings, and these guys spend way more hours than 90% of the DJs practicing and doing things. And yet we get into the guys who are in the wedding market, and they're like, what do I need to practice? And I wanted to kind of talk about that, because I think there's parts of what we do that we would be so much better at performing, and we'd be so much more effective at what we're doing with a little practice time. And I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that, because I think it's something that's really overlooked in the industry.
Yeah, and everybody has their own priorities with this. Some people always want to focus on their mixing skills. This is something that is important to them. I remember being a young mobile DJ with my own company and practicing setups, trying different things and seeing what worked right. There are several things that you can do, but I guess now, if you ask me what's the best thing you can practice, I would say there are two things that I do or have done that have benefited me more than anything else. The first thing are these YouTube videos. And the reason doing these videos is good for me is because it helps me work on my presentation skills and improvisational skills. I do several takes on them sometimes. I mean, this is a show, obviously it's one take. This is one and done. If we make a mistake, you're just going to see it. But when I'm doing my videos, I try to do several takes. I edit myself. I try not to script, but I do try a few different variations of what I want to say, pick the best ones. Sometimes I splice them up a little bit, and then I'll watch them. I'll watch something I did last year and see if it looks better than what I've done this year. And if not, I'm slipping. Mm-hmm. But I think, in my opinion, I've had a progression of improvements, and this has helped. You can do this without doing YouTube videos. You can do this just by videotaping yourself and saying whatever you want to say, saying your whatever, the things you say at a wedding reception, practicing a grand entrance, practicing just presenting somebody, or introducing a couple onto the dance floor, whatever the case might be. You can edit yourself. You can take out the ums. You can take out things like "ladies and gentlemen" at this time and get rid of them and never use them ever again. That's my thing. I hate that, because everyone does it. It's cool if you can do something else. It just seems more natural and more friendly, more conversational, and more sincere if you say something else. But that's one thing I think you can do is practice your presentation, your verbal presentation and speech.
I think that is a huge area, and one thing I've talked about on a few shows is reading to children is such a great time to practice. And as I've been doing that recently with the boys upstairs, there's some books that are easier to read, and I would consider them not a ton of practice in the whole speaking realm. And then you get into some of the Dr. Seuss books that are a little bit of a tongue twister. Right. And a little bit of silliness, but there's a tempo and a rhythm to that. So the other day, Lori and the kids were gone for whatever reason, and it was the border. I think it's the border battle. Basically, it's the book where one group of people doesn't like the other because one does butter side up and one does butter side down. And these two groups don't like each other. And the night before I read that, and it was like I'm stumbling over it. So I took the stupid thing, went to the mirror, and did almost kind of what you were talking about. Is I'm reading this in essence to myself to kind of watch a little bit of how I'm presenting it, and going through and reading the page over and over again, trying to not only get a fluid flow with the text I was reading, but also to get the inflection and the tempo and the timing down, because that's such an important thing. Because there's many times where I'm doing an introduction of the wedding party as an example, and I have got a script that I'll be reading. Sure. Everyone has 5 to 6 to 8 sentences, which can be really, really long.
Wow.
But there's a little story with each one. So they come out, the screens light up. There's a picture of, Bobby Sue, and there's her name comes across the bottom as it kind of looks kind of cool. And then I tell a little story over top of a song that the bride and groom had picked out for Bobby Sue.
Right.
It works really well, but you have to have that ability to read that, but yet you're reading it in a natural, so people aren't really noticing that you're reading it.
Yeah. I think we all go through phases as presenters. When I was very young, I was trying to be Prince in Purple Rain. Hi, how you doing? I'm going to be like the FM radio DJ and talk like this. No one could hear me. No one knew what I was saying. I wasn't communicating well with anybody, but I was trying to be cool and not sound foolish. As I got older, I got into the whole, let's get ready to rumble. That was the thing. With the ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'd like to welcome Jen and Bobby Smith or whoever. But now I've completely forgotten. I've talked about this before. I'm taking my cues from stand-up comedy. I am not, I guess, scripting anything. It's all improv because it's how I work best. However, I kind of know what I want to say. And I say in a way where it sounds off the hat, really, but it's effective and the timing is good and it comes across as much more natural and sincere than what I've ever done before. And that's just where I'm at as a presenter. It's very different than where I was. Man, even like, I guess 15 years ago, I've been working on this, quietly working. I don't talk about it much, but it's just a very different technique and it works well for me. And I can say things to the audience that I couldn't have said in the other voice, and I get away with the things. I can pick on people, and people laugh instead of look at me like I'm insane.
Sure.
I can have some fun with this. I'm not telling jokes. Please don't take that the wrong way. It's timing, and it's intent, and it's just commanding the crowd in a very different way than I ever did. Instead of generic, ladies and gentlemen, and you know what? If you're there, that's fine. But that was me in my late 20s. And it's not me anymore. So
to practice planning and execution at a wedding, Chris asked about that.
One other thing I did want to add, though, if we're talking about practice.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think people can do to practice, and I've talked about this before, and I'm just going to be repeating myself, but maybe you're watching the show for the first time. I noticed Jimmy Reed's in here. J-Rock's in here, and he's never been here before, so maybe he's never heard me talk about this. And hello, how are you? And hello to everybody, by the way.
Yep.
If you can catch a bar or a lounge gig midweek, take it.
Yep.
Take it. This is practice. This is in front of an audience. This is your chance to do things that you're not going to get the chance to do at a wedding reception, like try a new song and see how it works. You can try a new song at a wedding reception and it clears the dance floor and you feel terrible because the client has paid you dearly per song to be there. I mean, it's how it works out. Do the math. Sometimes it might be $20, $30 per song that you're getting as far as how much you're getting paid at the gig. However, if you're doing a bar gig and you're getting $150, $200 or whatever it is, and it's on Monday or Tuesday, you got nothing else going on, this is practice time. This is when you can throw those tunes out there just to see what happens and try new things and experiment and not be afraid to fail as much as you would at a private event. I think that is wonderful practice. And you get paid for it.
I would agree. That's a great opportunity, not only musically, but one of the things with one of the bars I played at there for a while, that wasn't the main one, I was doing side ones, is it, okay, what do you guys have going on other nights of the week? Well, not of a whole lot. And it's like, well, you've got to have, well, we have some noon lunch specials, and we have drink specials a couple of nights a week, but we really don't do much for advertising those. It was a fabulous opportunity for me to take those, and now I've got a thing that's going on, and now I can talk about this, and this gives me something to talk about, every 10 to 15 minutes, especially when I'm doing
Yeah.
kind of bumper. I would just want to go and throw something in there every maybe 20 minutes, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time developed, and then we got to the point where we were doing a series of shows, and at the end of those series of shows, there was a very large city event, and they wanted to make sure that people knew that as part of this large city event on a Sunday, they were having this picnic meal that was going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, start talking about that. Well, that was what he wanted me to focus on, and he wanted me to focus on that almost every announcement, which then starts to push me a little bit more to come up with something creative and different to say basically the same thing, to say, hey, plan to have lunch here that day.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was, as you say, it was a great practice opportunity, much more so than some of the nights where I was in a little VFW bar and I'm playing background music, and it's like, well, great. What kind of drink specials going on? Anything going on that we could talk about? Nah, nothing.
Right.
Not a thing. Don't even bother. Leave your microphone off. It's like, well, dude.
You got to have that connection with the crowd. I said my late 20s. I'm in my early 20s. That's how I was doing the ladies and gentlemen thing back then. When I started doing the club residency, which I did, and if you guys want to go to this place, they got food. It's pretty cool. But anyway, I was there for 7 years, every Friday night, and every time there was a special event in town, such as Summerfest, or we used to have Comic-Con here. Now they have it in San Diego. But I would be in there, and that was my place to test things. And, weekly, sometimes several times a week, I could try stuff, and it wasn't do or die. It wasn't, oh no, everything lies in the next song. If I drop this track at Ben and Sally's wedding and it screws up, they're going to think I'm a terrible DJ. No, I could do this at the bar. I could try it and see what the response was. And I could try microphone techniques. And I could screw up, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It helped so much. Just the practice, just the consistent practice. Was I making a fortune there? No. But I had an outlet to hone some skills. And I did it again with Evolve not too long ago, where I was there for, 4 or 5 years before I had my stroke and decided I didn't want to drive a 100-mile round trip anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent opportunity. Just to, and even learning some of the new music. If you're the kind of person that I am, which is somebody who isn't into top 40 radio, I don't get it. I love fun party tracks, but I just don't listen to the radio anymore. It's a great opportunity for me to get familiar with the hot radio tracks, because people are going to ask for them, and I can try them and see what people dance to. And there are those songs out there that people want because they hear them. Hey, do you have the new Jason Derulo? And you're like, well, yeah, I got it. And you put it on assuming it's danceable because it's popular and everybody wants it. And it just goes like, does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Happens with a lot of artists and a lot of singles. A lot of very popular songs are just not songs people are going to dance to. So you learn this kind of stuff working at these bars and clubs.
Oh, for sure.
Those are my two things. I mean, if you want to practice mixing, you go right ahead. If you're at all familiar with 2 turntables and a mixing board, you could probably learn how to hook up a couple beats in a couple hours. I taught my nephew how to do it. I think 35 minutes he was doing it. It's not that hard. And I don't mean to sound like I'm extra talented with this. It's really not. It's, if you can figure out how to pat your head and rub your belly at the same time, you can figure out how to mix 2 tracks. if you're that coordinated, you can do the other thing. And there's nothing wrong with practicing your mix and practicing your scratches and things like that. Some people are like incredibly talented with this, but there are things above and beyond that you should be looking at too, especially if you're out doing mobile entertainment. And those are the 2 things: your presentation and sometimes just those test tracks, And those are 2 ways that I feel like you could benefit. Those are 2 things you can practice and benefit from.
Another area that I think sometimes as DJs we overlook is many small and mid-sized towns and even larger cities have community education in their within the schools. And those community ed, there's a couple of different things here. If you are knowledgeable in an area, they're always looking for teachers. And getting in front of a group of people and presenting and teaching, whether it's there or in a church situation where you're helping with the youth, whatever. There's a lot of great opportunity there. And the other area is is theater. A lot of the smaller towns and even some of the, again, community ed have an adult theater program that's going on. And I've seen many of our DJ friends who are filling a role in a production of whatever it happens
Sure.
to be. Great opportunity to go and be, a little bit different than yourself. You can go and act and do things, but
Right.
if you have a decent director that you're going to be working with, they're going to give you some feedback and some tips and some ideas that are things you can implement actually in your performance when you're going out into the DJ world and you're getting behind of a microphone and
Hmm.
enunciating clearly. Because my 16-year-old, that's one of the things you guys met Brandon, and when he was on the show that night, he did a very decent job with his enunciating. But he's a typical teenager where it'll be like, he started talking or mumbling a little bit. Yeah, exactly. And it's very, very frustrating because the youngster is very intelligent, and then when he's mumbling, it's like, yeah.
I was gonna. I gotta just bring it up. There's another place that you can go in your town, and you can just maybe not so much practice, but just pay attention. In any town, you can do this. Go to church, and don't just go to your church. Go to everybody's church and check it out.
Yes.
I mean, be respectful, dress, appropriately, and all that kind of stuff. But the church thing right now, and I'm not personally involved with it, but I'm hearing that this is a huge market right now for lighting and sound. Like this is a big booming market. House of worship. There are a lot of lighting companies and sound companies who are really catering to these folks because they've got the cash and they want wow.
Yes.
And I'm not criticizing anybody. All I'm telling you is, but I will say this. It's a show. It's entertainment. So people go to church not only to, be reminded of the things, of their values and all that, but also to be entertained. And lighting and sound does this. And you also have got to have somebody up there in the front who people listen to and they respect and doesn't put people to sleep. Listen to how this person talks. Listen to what they say. Figure out where they're trying to go with something and how often they kind of break from the script and just kind of look people dead in the eye and ask them questions or talk to them. You can learn a lot.
Oh, certainly. The engagement side of it, that's something I enjoy watching is they're up there presenting, they teach, and then they change things up. I think the very first time I really noticed this was watching Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar would teach, and then he would have a little funny quip of some sort. Or he'd have a Ziglarism, we'll call it, for lack of a better way to describe it. And I found that, it was always fun to watch, and I enjoyed his presentations. And then watching some of his people, the people that had been trained through this Ziglar training program, and watching them speak, because we had a few of them come up here, and they're doing the exact same formula. It's like, wait a second. He's written this down as a formula, and he's teaching that this is how you do it. You teach a concept, you go through that, and then you have this little, you go in a lighthearted or funny little ha 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 ha. Okay, so let's get back into the this is just about as fun as that, whatever it is. And the one that was here the most was Brian Flanagan from the Ziegler Corporation. And he's got that Southern boy humor that he's using, and he's making cracks about this and that and the other thing, mainly between Texas and Louisiana type jokes that those people would get more than we did up here. But we still, you got the humor, but it was part of a planned progression. And as you watch these presentations, you're thinking, when I'm doing things at a wedding, there's times where I can maybe catch attention by using a little humor, or I can catch attention by changing the tempo or the pace, or as you mentioned, looking people in the eye. There's times that just making a connection with one person in a really sincere way, or not a weird creepy way. There's a difference. There's a line. But sometimes when you're talking to someone, that the crowd will turn because it's like, ooh, who is he talking to? What's going on over there? And there's just so many little tools you can pick up by watching others present and perform.
I need 2 minutes to tell a personal story.
Okay,
and I'll only take 2 minutes, and we can go right back to where we're going.
Nope, we're good.
Okay, my dad's dad, so my grandpa, I guess, he was, he would have been 108 years old now, and he died like in 95 or something like that. But anyway, he used to be one of the authorities or the experts in Model A restoration. He restored, I don't know how many of these, dozens of Model A's throughout the years. He did one when, I don't know, I guess I was a teenager, and he eventually sold it. And that was his last one. And then of course he passed away. Last summer, my mom got a phone call from a gentleman in Phoenix, Arizona, who said, look, I've got this beautiful Model A, this 1928 Model A, and I'm tracing the history of it. And I'm seeing that perhaps somebody in your family may have had something to do with this car. And so my dad, he said, yeah, my father, he built that car. Apparently, my grandfather sold this car to Zig Ziglar. And this was Zig Ziglar's 1928 Model A until he died a couple years ago. Then this other guy bought it. So my grandpa sold his car to Zig Ziglar. I don't know, just a story.
Yeah.
I told you 2 minutes personal. Sorry. The name came up, and how often does Zig Ziglar come up in conversation? I had to just throw that out there.
Not as much as it used to. I used to Actually, I wonder. He has talked in a couple of his presentations I've heard over the year. He talked about a Model A. I wonder if that would be the exact vehicle he's referring
1928 Model A. That was Grandpa's. If he talked about that before he died, when Grandpa saw that car, probably in the early 2000s, then it was Grandpa's car.
Yeah, it would have been, because I didn't really see Ziegler until it was after 2000. It would have been early 2000.
Yeah, 1928. I've ridden in that car. He built it from junk. He was good like that, and he built it the old school way. He knew what every bolt was supposed to be and what color everything was supposed to be, and he would go to car shows and look at these beautiful cars and tell you what was wrong with them because they weren't right. Mm-hmm. Off the factory line right. He did colors, which Ford didn't do, but as far as the horns, he rebuilt the horns from junk. And he, if something was hand painted, it was a hand painted thing. If something was spray painted, it was a spray painted thing. He was just meticulously restored these cars, so they were showpieces. But yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, very neat.
Yeah, it had to be Grandpa's. Had to be.
Let's see. Rich mentioned in the on Facebook that you mentioned Jimmy Fallon, and I find that's another great source of not so much for practicing, but learning timing, learning, Corbin especially, is learning facial or expressions. And to be able to tell a story through reactions, which is to kind of go into how I use that in my show, is I have changed my show. I used to have it where my area was really dark, and I wanted it lights all out on the dance floor. Now I have lighting, so it's actually illuminating me so that people can see when I'm making announcements and different things. Part of that is because there's going to be times that I want them to see kind of either the energy that I have in the back to kind of get things going, to build that up for the dance floor. But most often, I want them to see if I'm making an exciting announcement, or if I'm, excited about something back there, I want them to see that. If I'm going, because someone just did something silly and you're making that over dramatic. Again, if you get a chance, watch Corbin and then Sting. They just did a little skit where they were both performers in a restaurant, and they were basically competing back and forth. And at the like 2/3 the way through, there's this scene where Sting is doing something, and James Corbin goes over there, and his facial expressions and different things of how he was reacting to the frustration of that moment and such was fabulous, because you're seeing a million words being used at that particular moment, but it's all done with facial expressions. And those are the types of things as performers, things
stick with us. When we hear things, we see things. Yeah. I mean, it's just the little tips and tricks and observations. Tim Curry, who was an actor, he recently had a stroke a few years ago. He still does appearances once in a while, but he was his big break was Rocky Horror Picture Show. Mm-hmm. And not only was he in the movie, but he was in the American Los Angeles production of. I think he was in the London production of it too. Yeah, I think he was. But I remember I saw this thing. It might have been on YouTube relatively recently, last year or two, where he was talking. Is an interview that somebody did with him about doing this movie. He said, "Yeah, movies are different." He said, "When I'm doing stage acting, I may make a gesture like this. But when I'm in the movie, I may make it like this." It's got to be a little more subtle, because when you're live, you make it a little bigger. But when the camera zoomed in on you and it's close up, you're a little more subtle with it.
Very good point.
And I thought, wow, that's a good point. So if I'm speaking to a large crowd instead of, like I'm zoomed in right here, I'm kind of making this hand gesture. Perhaps it would be a little more like this to a bigger crowd to express the point and give it the same punctuation. As an example, that's stuck with me.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, that's a fabulous, because there's times where we're 50, 60, 70 feet from the guest, and if we're doing a little hand gesture, but like, oh, can you believe the best man did that? That type of a hand gesture. Well, if they were all within 10 feet of me, that'd be great. But if you can believe the best man did that,
exactly,
it's
right.
So much different.
It's different live.
And I think another point that I struggled with early is that in my head, I'm thinking I'm exaggerating these motions and actions and such. It's like, wow, I was so animated. And then I watch the video and it's like, wow, that's not the way it sounded.
That wasn't so bad. Yeah.
And I thought I was making a fool of myself. And it's like, well, gosh, I could have notched it up and been much more entertaining, even to the point. It was like, oh, it sounded like I was being this weird freak. And it's like, oh, no, that was just not what and I wanted to be that particular that loud and outgoing, obnoxious at that moment, just because it fit what was the moment, what was happening. And I think it takes me back to my teaching time when you would want to do, when we were having fun and doing things with the kids, and wanted to be that a little outlandish with the kids to either catch their attention, draw them in, whatever it was at that moment, is that you really couldn't be over animated too much sometimes.
Right.
And it's like, okay, if I'm thinking that I'm over animated, I'm probably not quite there yet. I need to really
big.
emphasize. Yeah, it's got to be big, it's got to be large, and it's got to be dramatic, and facial expressions and everything have to fit together or come together to make this moment, to sell this moment to the audience. And that's something that you don't think about and such, because I
have one of those personalities where I'll say something to somebody, and if I don't get a reaction from them, I'll repeat it slightly different and try to get the reaction from them. And I was kind of doing the same thing as a performer. When I was younger, I would say things, and I would, maybe I would say something that was a bit sarcastic, and I go, and no one saw it. So I just kept making the expression bigger and bigger and bigger until they finally saw it, and then they got it, and I got a laugh or some kind of reaction. And then I noticed when I started doing my videos, I was still making the big expressions, but I was doing it close up. And some of my early stuff just looks ridiculous. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I really look like that? So I had to tone it down. And when Tim Curry brought that up in like this 1974 interview, I'm like, yes. We've gone way off track. I hope you guys are enjoying this.
No, they're following along and such, and good stuff. So I guess to boil it down, and we'll head into chatting about lighting, is that practice is good. Use every opportunity to practice, no matter where it is, no matter what the skill is, because you can learn from about everything that you get involved with. And bring Krispy Kremes on Tuesday when we do our live recording.
Starbucks Grand Venti Mocha Frappuccino. That's my beverage. I can never have too many of those.
Yeah, but somebody mentioned that we need to make a trip to Starbucks next week. Yeah. So
got it.
I haven't been to Starbucks in months.
Don't be afraid to shut up and watch once in a while either. I mean, that's huge. It's not all about you doing. Sometimes it's about you just observing, and taking it in.
And that circles us back to why I really enjoy where Lori and I have been going to churches, because I'm basically can just sit and take in, and I'm seeing, because they have a variety of different pastors who do different aspects of the show.
Yeah.
And I call it a show because
it's a presentation.
It is now. Yeah. It's not like it was, 20, 30, 10
I'm going to open the Bible and read this passage. That's not what's happening.
It doesn't happen. It is a performance with music and lighting, and watching their presentation style and how they do these and how they deliver all these different aspects is just, it's great to just sit and absorb. So we get done with church on a Sunday morning, and I'm ready to go and dissect not only the message, but the delivery style and how they did this and do that. And Lori's the kind of person who just really loves music. So she's like happy to just talk about the song and how much she enjoyed that song. And it's like, but did you see when he was at that moment and he did that? And then all of a sudden the crowd came. The music was nice today, honey.
Yeah, it's observation, man. That's the good stuff. And remember, folks, church isn't only on Sunday mornings. There's church all week long. It just depends on the church.
Yeah. Yes.
So don't think you've got to go gig until you're not getting until 2 a.m. and then get up at 6, put on your Sunday best and go in and listen to this guy talk about Jesus. You can do this anytime. There's always something going on. There's always something cooking. As long as there's an audience, there's a door open at church and there's somebody in there giving something. But yeah, your best stuff is typically on Sunday mornings, I'm sure, but it's not only happening on Sundays. And try some different stuff. That's just my suggestion. It's a weird suggestion, but if you just don't know where to go and observe people, this is the place to do it.
With that being said, there are online webinars. I've been attending a few online webinars, and when you're watching some of these where somebody's talking over a PowerPoint, that they've got the PowerPoint thing going and they're giving their little spiel, they can be some of the most painful things to watch.
It's like baseball.
It is. It's like, a little, and this is where that it's like, gosh, show a little life, show a little passion. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing our shows like this, is where we can just basically speak from the heart and share some ideas and different things. And it's much more entertaining than, and then I go and click on the red button and then that word pops up. Well, that word's a kind of a cool thing, that'll give you the pump. Where's that Starbucks again? Yeah, that's where we need to go.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I've said this so many times. I'm one of those people that I was never a good student. The reason I wasn't a good student is because you got about 10 minutes of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't interject or you don't give me a break and I've got to keep listening to you talk, I got to tune you out because I can't take any more in.
Yeah.
And so yeah. I can't listen to the PowerPoint presentations. And the chat's great. People can jump in. You and I can go back and forth. I'm sure we're boring people to death right now. Some of you out there.
No, they're with us and they're talking about some different things and sharing some ideas and such.
Good.
With that. But yeah, my point with bringing the PowerPoint people up is that we've got a generation of kids who are coming up. And granted, there's a lot of great stuff on YouTube, and they're seeing some very animate and really quite polished presenters out there that are like really young and better looking than we were ever. Makes me really hurt inside. But anyway, you've got these youngsters who see these types of things. It's like, if that's what they're trying to emulate, or that's the the pinnacle of the guy that's running a multi-million-dollar company, and this is how we did it, and he's showing us, and it's like, dude, you can't. That's painful. People are going.
I think it gets twofold there, personally, because okay, we both have 19-year-olds, and one thing I can tell you about my kid is that she's not shy when it comes to speaking in front of people. She can do it. She may not want to do it, but she can do it. But you know what? When I was a kid, I was really ashamed and embarrassed for some reason to sing. That bothered me. And musicals scared me too. Even the little puppet shows at Christmas time, Rudolph and all that. If they started singing, I'd leave the room in embarrassment. I don't like when people sing to me either. Yeah. But I noticed that singing became a big thing in like the 80s with children. And shows that did this, and things like Barney and all these sing-along Disney things, and kids were not afraid to sing and perform for each other. And I think that kind of shows with the new generation. I'm an old guy, but the younger generation, they're a little more prepared than I was to go out there on stage because of these things.
I definitely, I can see that with some of my children, but then I have some that, I've got my 8th grader who struggles with, and he can sing. He can sing really, really well, but it's I don't want to sing. It's not cool.
I totally get that.
And it's like, that's the way my situation was. I think I was in like 4th grade or something. And the music teacher basically was trying to parts for Christmas and basically said, John, some people just can't sing. And I think you're one of them. Well, you tell a kid that age, and that's the last time you're going to hear they'll ever try. And as you say, a lot of even when I went through the elementary program, the idea was we were trying to bring music into it, and that was really a big part of it, because you want the kids to sing. You want them to be able to express themselves through music and arts. And some of those things are trimmed down, so if we can do it in a regular classroom, that was a really big improvement. So that meant myself, who didn't do much singing, now I'm in front of a full classroom of 1st graders. We've got 30-some 1st graders, and we're singing, and we're doing things, and we're having some fun.
Right.
God, that was great practice for so many things.
Many things. I would love to hear more about that sometime.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
We have to pull from our experiences, no matter what they are, and
it really comes together that way. And
it's going to make it so unique for us.
It definitely does. And then that uniqueness is what we can sell to our clients and charge a premium rate because we're selling them a uniqueness that is truly us.
And especially when you can show up at a client meeting and bring that with you, because you can, it's you.
Mm-hmm. And you can come and sing the Itsy Bitsy Spider for them.
You can sing with them if you really want to. They'll probably run, but yeah, I can.
Or they might like the spider. You never
Would you
know.
like me to sing to you?
I'm
No,
really
I
good.
would not.
Can
We're in
you-
the middle of Starbucks. No,
I'm used to singing to first graders, so can you guys kneel down? No, you're still too tall. Can you sit down Indian style on the floor? There you go. Oh, you can't sit that way because otherwise you'll get... Okay, good. Sorry. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. We've got a few minutes left. Our time winding down. Let's talk a little bit about getting into some entry level lighting. Now, as I've been looking at the lighting world for the DJ industry, as we've been going to the different shows, we're seeing some of the companies kind of pushing the envelope, and you're not seeing as much of the true entry level lights that, and I want to say the $40 and $50 lights that we used to be able to find occasionally. You're not finding as many of those. They're starting to do more with the moving heads and getting into the intelligent lighting where it's maybe got a little bit of a price on some of the fixtures. I mean, Jimmy likes to tell me how much these things are and how they're so expensive.
Yeah.
But there are still ways.
I'll build my own.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go out and take some candles and some aluminum.
Go in a hardware store. Gonna make it happen. And believe me, there was a day when that's the kind of stuff that was very normal. It was very normal to do that back in the 80s. We did it. I mean, the companies I worked for did it. I didn't do it personally. I was fortunate enough to step into doing this by myself when you could go out and buy affordable lighting made for mobile DJs, which didn't exist just a few years before that at any kind of price point that we could afford anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this is the observation. Most big lighting companies have realized that many of you out there have grown beyond the VFW wedding DJ thing. You're doing premium events, you're catering to a higher end client, and your tastes in lighting have become, for lack of a better way to describe this, a lot more sophisticated.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very safe way.
Yeah, you don't want a Vertigo anymore. You want a bank of LED panels that you can put video on and pixel map, and you want to do moving heads, crazy amounts of moving heads and trussing rigs and all of this stuff, and these giant PA systems, and play for crowds of 1,000 like a concert. And the companies have seen this and said, we're gonna take care of you. And they're bringing you the latest technology. Technology is just going crazy right now, by the way, in this industry.
Yes.
I've never seen it like this before. It's going nuts, and it's so much fun. Ever since LED, what was LED, John? 12 years ago?
Trying to think of the first LED lights. Yes, I think about 12 years ago.
I mean, for DJs or for,
Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark. It had been 10 to 12 years ago because they were coming out. Yeah, just about the time, I think, when we started the paper. I think we were starting to talk about LED lights they were there, but they were actually being able to put them into fixtures and getting them bright enough to actually do something.
Now, the 15, 20 years previous to that, we went from a Vertigo, which was wow, with 2 halogen bulbs in it. And we progressed into, some scanners and some movers and things like that. And even intelligent lighting, which is just, DMX. Affordable stuff for us that was there already for the big pro market. The Super Bowl had it. Studio 54 had it, whatever. But we didn't have it. It was out of our price range. It was too heavy. It wasn't practical for a wedding or whatever. But yeah, now here we are. We've got all this cool technology. It keeps coming out. Smaller, lighter weight, and still at a fantastic price point that we can afford, even if we're doing the higher end, events, productions. But what about the entry level DJ? What about the budget minded DJ? Or what about those of us who don't need to invest $800 to $2,000 per fixture in lighting? There's stuff out there for you. Like ADJ StarTech, I've been talking about this a lot lately because I get a lot of this stuff from ADJ.
Yep.
And the reason I get it is because I've got the audience for it. There are a lot of beginners watching me. There are a lot of budget-minded DJs out there, Jimmy. So this stuff is for them, right? They don't want to spend a lot of dough, and that's totally cool. That's where they're at. That's their market. That's their clientele. And a lot of people look at this stuff and say, oh man, this is the direction lighting's going in. It's not progressive anymore. Oh, no. It's very progressive. It's just not this.
Mm-hmm.
This is not your install piece. This is not your state-of-the-art anything. This is I can step into a light from, I don't know, maybe $60 to $300. I can step into this cool new fixture. It's lightweight. It's LED. Takes no power. It's portable. It's built for mobile DJs. And I can step into this, no problem. On the other hand, if you want the big stuff, that's available for you too.
Yep.
I'm just not going to show you all of that on my channel because the market is actually bigger for the $150 little fixture than it is for the $1,200 moving head.
Mm-hmm.
So why should I always show you I'm going to show you the $1,200 moving head once in a while. It's going to happen.
Oh yeah, certainly. Especially when we're at some of these trade shows and you're seeing an incredible booth that's put together with the big elation lighting and such. I mean, there are some incredible things that they can do with those things.
I've been showing you guys the $4,000 micro speaker system. I mean, really. I mean, most of you guys out there are going to look at that and say, you know what? That is completely out of my budget. And that's cool. That's where you are. But there are other DJs out there who that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I can put that in my business plan. I can make that happen and have it paid off fast that I can benefit from it.
Yes.
On the other hand, we have the $300 speaker. We have that too. So yeah, that's all there. I mean, the StarTech thing, I really did want to address that. And I've done it in a video. I did an article on it this month for Just Shocky News. This is not the direction that ADJ is going. This is a direction ADJ is going, but they're going in several. Depending on who you are, they're trying to not leave anybody out. Mm-hmm. So you got the good, cool, crazy new stuff. There's a price tag that goes along with it. On the other hand, you got the StarTech stuff. This technology is, 7 or 8 years old. We're able to do it relatively affordable and package it up for you and send you out the door. And you can go out and, do your school dance or do your little wedding.
When you mentioned 7 or 8 year old technology, I think I don't want that to come across as a negative thing because really what the point is that things that these StarTech, some of these moving heads could do today for the price point they're at, this is the same technology and the same capability that was the higher end fixtures of 5 to 7 years ago. Right. And it's still very competent, capable fixtures.
Absolutely.
It's just incredible how the price has come down on that. Now we can carry that technology and we've got it all right here. And I can have 8 of them and I'm not going to break the bank.
It's like Audi is a premium brand in Germany. I think you guys know that. If you guys are into cars at all, Audi has surpassed like Mercedes and BMW as the status car too. Everybody wants an Audi. They're building cool stuff. Same company owns Volkswagen. So the stuff that you're seeing in Audi today, the cool new cutting edge technology, you're going to see in Volkswagens in 3 or 4 years. And it's going to be more cost effective in 3 or 4 years. It's just how it works. It's like anything else, like a cell phone. You ever seen a cell phone from the 70s or a mobile phone from the 70s? It's a handheld with a wire on it and the whole bit. And it looks like, it's like the phone from the Matrix. It's just in a car. Look at, this is what I'm using today.
Yeah.
So no, that's not a negative thing. That's just, you're not particularly paying for the new cutting edge thing. That bill has already been handled. All you have to do is enjoy the technology. So.
You also talked this week about cord management. Did I see something on that?
Yeah, cable management.
Yeah. And I wanted
I
wanted to share, and I didn't get a chance to watch it. I just saw it pop up. I saw a guy, and I don't remember who it was, that had talked about these little guys.
Well, like a bongo tie or whatever.
The little bungee, little ball bungees. And I don't know what they've got an official name on this thing. Yeah, ball bungee is what they're referred to as.
Ball bungee. Yeah, I like it.
Isn't that fun? But these are something actually we use with our video screens when we're stretching the video screens. Is we've got some that we have a 6x9 and then we have a 16 by 12 or whatever it is. But these the guy in his video is using these as a cord management. He had completely black ones, and he could go and tie the cables and such up to the lighting stands. And I thought that was such a fabulous idea.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of products out there that are going to do the job for you. It can be as sophisticated as a specialty clamp. It could be as simple as a zip tie or a roll of black electrical tape.
Mm-hmm.
Point being is, and the reason I was inspired to do the video at all is because I saw a picture of a DJ on Facebook. It was dressed sharp, nice haircut, good looking guy in a suit, standing in front of his DJ system with this beautiful facade. And he had scrim speaker stands. It was so nice and neat. And then you see this light tree, and there's just cords just hanging from this thing. It's like, how did he miss this? Everything else was perfect. This was a professional black and white photo. I'm sure the photographer that was at the wedding just took it. But I'm looking at this saying, how can you miss that? Well, I don't know how you miss that, and I'm not going to beat him up, but what I am going to do is throw something out there to help people like him.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of realize, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing that. So yeah, that's what the video was about. Don't care how you do it. Just do some cable management of some kind. That's what it is. And they just clean things up a little bit. Makes it look a little less like you're at a refugee camp, I guess. I don't know.
It's interesting, and not that the guest won't notice, but I think when DJs will look at another DJ system, that's like the first thing they'll be like, oh my God, look at the cable management, or oh my, look at that. And I bet if you ask the guests after a wedding event is over or something, and you'd be like, so what did you think of the DJ? Oh yeah, great. What did you think of the
cable management? Who cares?
I don't know. I do. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there might be somebody who said, yeah, you had some cords showing. But most of the people would be like, they have no idea. They don't care.
They don't. No, and you're right. You're right. But, what I was noticing about this particular setup was not only were you seeing cables hanging down, but some of his effects were shadowing those cables and magnifying that on the wall behind him. So there was like a bigger silhouette of the problem directly behind him. And that's when it just could become distracting for some people.
Yeah.
There are people out there, whether you're DJs or not, there are some people out there who have this, I guess, obsessive compulsive thing with stuff like cable management.
Yeah.
If you look under my desk right now, cables are everywhere, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. I don't have to worry about it because nobody can see it. But there are people out there who will not stand for that. Everything would be neatly zip tied, and they would buy special holders and cable runners for that stuff. I'm not that guy, but somebody out there is. There might be somebody who comes by the studio and looks under there and it just makes them cringe, even if they have no idea what any of the stuff on top of the desk is. So I don't know. It's just a dumb little thing that you can do. It doesn't take any time, and it does clean things up.
Yeah.
So, will they notice? I would say you got about a 50-50 chance or less. It could be less of a chance that anybody's going to notice, but yeah, I noticed. Yeah. And if this was your marketing photo, it was really nice, except for this one thing.
Mm-hmm. And
this one dumb thing.
In a situation like that, where they can spend more time looking at the picture and noticing things, they're looking to, is there a reason to not hire this person? That's really what, in many marketing images, what you're looking for.
What was so odd about it was he had the facade.
Everything.
He had the scrim speed. It wasn't like everything was in chaos. Everything was nice and neat. The reason this stood out so much is because everything else was so clean, including him. So it was like one thing out of order. So it really stood out, Yeah, that's what inspired that cable management video. And it's actually done pretty well. It's those things that I just kind of assume everybody knows. We don't got to do video and cable management. Everybody knows that they're supposed to do this. Mm-hmm. Then you see the picture and you're thinking, you know what? I think I'll do one. And then you see the numbers on the video and the thank yous for doing it. It's like, whew.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things
I assume too much.
One of the things I've done with my show now, this particular weekend, I'll be doing a prom, and I've got a specific setup. I do change my light setups depending upon the show. And I've gone, and this time I'll be using specific length cords. I believe I'll be using 3-foot plug-in or 3-foot
IEC.
IEC, thank you. IEC cords this weekend at a wedding, or not a wedding. It was Yeah, it was the wedding, the last wedding I did. In that particular case, because of the way the setup was and things were spread out a little bit more, they had to be longer. And then I'll have one that's later this year where it's basically one, and they're going to piggyback with 12-inch because all the moving heads are about, I think they're 16-inch, but the moving heads are all going to be next to each other in a row of all 8 of them.
Yeah.
It's just, I could go and I could still use that 6-foot one. Okay, they're only about 16 inches apart, so then I've got to loop and tie it all up, or I just ponied up and bought the right wires for the application.
I've got that on my system. I've got some cables that, this cable's the perfect length for this application. Please do not mix that cable up with my other cables. If I got an assistant, we're doing uplighting or something. Sure enough, I'll go to my next gig, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's too long, or it's too short, or it's too thin, or whatever the case might be. I had the perfect cable for this, and somebody screwed it all up for me. Happens. I totally get it. I mean, I even said in the video, and I know you didn't watch it, but I said in the video, some people are just nuts about cable management. This is like a big thing for them. Other people don't care. It's like, whatever, I don't care. I'm a moderate. I'm in the middle. It doesn't got to be perfect, but if an effort's made, a reasonable effort is made to hide the stuff, I think you're okay. But that's just me.
Good stuff.
That when he says good stuff, that means we're ready to wrap.
We're ready to wrap the show.
Shut up! I'm done talking to you.
Yep, exactly. It's almost 10 o'clock, and we've been on for an hour, and we do want to respect the time of our viewers. Thank you guys for being with us on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, thank you very much. If you're watching this after the show, we do this pretty much every Tuesday night because, well, it's just something we do.
Kind of like the Barry Gibb talk show on SNL. Well, we want to talk to you. Though you may not want us to, we're still going to talk to you. Don't care what you say.
No, we do care. We just want to acknowledge it. We probably won't pay attention. And it won't have any lasting effect.
I always pay attention, John. Shame on you. We're here to help.
So next week, we'll be at Midwest DJs Live Monday night. The MJ and Dan and Shani are going to be doing the Monday night show. Tuesday, we're going to be doing something live. Ben, Brian, and I, we're going to do something. I don't know how we're going to do it, what time we're going to do it. You're going to have to watch the Facebook
I say we
pages.
do it here.
It might work out. It's going to depend how we can grab Ben and where he's got to go and where he's got a jet set off to.
I'm like so close to the airport.
So we
may have no idea.
We may be good with that, but we'll let you guys know. Watch our Facebook pages. That's where we're going to be introducing everything for next week. And then tomorrow night, Wednesday night, we're going to be doing a 60s, actually going to be going through some of the 60s hits that you should know. And we'll be playing those we'll be doing the live webinar thing. Links will be going out tomorrow, so go out to DJNTVinsider.com. Sign up to keep up to date so you get the link for tomorrow night's show. So, Brian, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we will catch you tomorrow night.